Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Figure It Out cast for June 2025. I am your host, Adam Koralik, and today is a kind of a special one. Rather than our normal structure of subjects and discussion, we're basically going to have one super discussion about one particular subject, and we're joined by both co-hosts at the same time. Abdullah, welcome back. And we've got Joseph returning.
Hey,
I'm
glad to be here.
All right. Thank you. So basically, like I said, what we're going to do is we're just going to talk entirely this whole episode about the Nintendo Switch 2. It just dropped. We all own one. We're all going to just discuss it. And as for other Patreon backers, I reached out to both Sinjeet and Spencer per year, and Sinjeet told me, yeah, this is fine. And Spencer, I have not heard from this year, but he keeps supporting it, so I assume he doesn't have a problem with it. So shout out to both of them, who must have been very much on board. And I'll give a round of shout outs here to Jeb Malcolm, Loke, Michael Kelly, Sega Steve, and Trey Wagner. Once again, Jeb Malcolm, Loke, Michael Kelly, Sega Steve, and Trey Wagner. This is a Patreon-backed podcast, and by supporting the Patreon, not only do you keep the channel running, you get early access to this, you get early access to all my videos, and we can keep making content for you guys. So thank you so much. Let's go into it. Okay, Abdullah, Joseph, we're going to talk Nintendo Switch 2.
Alrighty.
Who wants to start? Who wants to start?
Well,
What's up?
I could at least start by saying that the Switch Pro is pretty good.
Oh, that's a very concise review. Right there. Okay,
Yeah.
so what I think we should do here is because the last time we all had a semi discussion about this, we were talking about our pre-order situations. I feel like we should talk about what actually happened when we went to get it. I will recap my own probably last, since I did do separate videos on this already. But I figure let's just start with Joseph. What was your experience like actually getting it? And then first impressions and that kind of thing.
All right.
And then we'll do you, Abdullah.
So, what happened is I went to meet my friend who secured the pre-order for me. I gave him the money, and I took it home. No real issues there. He got his pre-order from Best Buy, and then Nintendo sent him the, hey, you could pre-order thing. And so he was just like, hey, do any of you want it? Or you just do it at cost? I'm like, okay, sure. And then I got one. As far as first impressions go, I only have two actual Switch 2 games right now. Mario Kart World, which came bundled with the system I got, and Fast Fusion, which another friend of mine just got me a code for. Both of them are pretty good. Fast Fusion is like the F-Zero-like type deal. Pretty cool racing game. Stuff goes fast. Stuff explodes. It's pretty cool, and Mario Kart World is a Mario Kart. I was not really a super big Mario Kart fan, so I'm very glad I didn't have to pay $80 for Mario Kart World. But as far as for what it is, it seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. Runs pretty good. The thing that I've been using the Switch 2 the most for, though, is to like actually play Pokemon Violet at a frame rate that is what's the word I'm looking for? Good. And also, which is better than I was expecting. I was just expecting functional, but I got good, and I'm happy. Happy there, at least. But yeah, I mean, as far as like actually using it goes, like so far I'm just using the Joy-Con controllers. I didn't get a Switch 2 Pro controller, and I haven't dug my Switch 1 Pro controller out of the closet where all my stuff is currently stored right now. Mostly just because I have a ton of tubs in there, and I don't want to pull them all out searching for controllers and stuff when I don't know what my living situation is going to be like in a couple of months. But the Joy-Cons like feel relatively okay to use. They're still a little bit small, but they're bigger than the old ones. And the old ones I also didn't really have much of an issue with. I did get the Pro controller eventually because it is more ergonomic and better, but it's not like the Switch 2 Joy-Cons with the Joy-Con skeleton thingy are unusable. So
Are you talking about the dog face controller?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I
I've
mean,
never heard it called the skeleton, but that's probably a better name. But
I
it
mean,
just looked like a dog.
well, yeah,
face.
everyone calls it the dog face, but
Yeah.
it's, I mean, the grip is more of a skeleton structure type deal, so that's why my brain went
Sure,
there.
sure. That makes sense.
But yeah, I didn't actually get to play all the old Switch games that I was thinking about going on playing. Like I haven't tried the Switch 2 editions of Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom yet. Haven't tried Age of Calamity. But I mean, just the sheer fact that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are now games that you can actually play without forcing yourself through it is really nice. And if I wanted to believe any rumors that Nintendo originally planned a Switch Pro, but then because of COVID or whatever, they were only able to do the Switch OLED. Pokemon, the performance of the last gen Pokemon, the latest Pokemon games on Switch 2, actually makes me believe that now, because I cannot believe for a second that Game Freak actually planned it for only running with the only option of the original Switch hardware with how it turned out. No matter how rushed Pokemon games are. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as the system goes, it's like I said earlier, it's basically a better Switch.
So Abdullah, how about you?
A couple of days before the Switch 2 launched, um, my brother called a guy we knew uh, in one of the stores here. So what turned out happening was that when he called him, he just said, "You know what? I'll just give it a shot." He called him, and turns out the guy has been promoted to a higher position in corporate. So he was able to get us a Switch too. So he told us, "Yeah, no worries, just I'll get you a console." And so that's the way we scored it. So it's kind of like, Adam, I remember you saying you got yours by accident.
Yes, I'll tell my story soon.
Yeah, but pretty much, yeah, it was. You know, my brother and I were not. We weren't really, you know, interested or running after it or something. But it was like, okay, let's just try. Works, works. Doesn't work? No, okay, that's fine. And yeah, so we managed to get the console. We didn't really pick it up on launch day. We had a couple of issues to deal with, but we went and took the console a few days later. So as in terms of first impressions on the console, one thing I really liked was uh, how the box was compact. Honestly, uh, I thought of it in terms of how it's gonna be easier to put on a shelf uh, because of how the box was. I honestly did not expect the box to be that size. I thought it was gonna be a bit bigger than uh, than what that.
So did GameStop. That's why they were stapling receipts to it.
Yeah.
That's just. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, go ahead.
So,
Sorry.
so it. I mean, Joseph kind of said it. Switch Pro, so it doesn't really feel. It wasn't really. It didn't really feel like very exciting when I was opening the console. When my brother and I were doing that. Um, if something usually for a new console, there's a whole new vibe, a new packaging, a fresh feel kind of thing. But I mean, if you think yeah,
Yeah,
you
of
think
course.
about how distinct the packaging was from N64 to GameCube to Wii and all that, but this one is pretty much in the same realm as the Switch. So as was said, it is very similar to being a Switch 2 kind of a Switch Pro kind of thing. Um, that was the impression when I opened up the console. But when I saw the console itself, the design and everything of the console itself is pretty good. I like the way they did the Joy-Cons, the magnetic attachment. That was a really thoughtful and solid improvement, honestly. The larger screen to me personally doesn't make a difference, but this is something that varies between one person to the other. Um, Nothing much to say, honestly. We got the Mario Kart World bundle. Of course, did not play it right away. Upgrades and all that mandatory stuff. Um, yeah, it's okay. it's not bad or great or anything. It's good. Uh, I'm happy that I have the console. But mm, I do not play it as much. My brother does play it, but he plays uh in fact more Pokemon actually. He plays Pokemon. He does yeah. So he does he
Like I said, that's what got most of my playtime.
yeah,
Kind of thing,
he
right?
does exactly. He does he plays Scarlet, I believe. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, he does that, and he plays a little bit Tears of the Kingdom. I personally just played on the console, the Switch 2. I only played Mario Kart on it. Mario Kart World. That's it for me. I still use my first Switch uh, for other games, but until now, just waiting for Donkey Kong to come out. Uh, Maybe see what's gonna happen later. But yeah, those were just the first impressions. A good console, Mario Kart, fun game. Not my favorite series of all time, but definitely a good one. And I don't, uh, I like the series. So yeah, that was just the first impressions on it. Nothing too exciting, nothing fresh, nothing new. At least the way it feels. A technically new console. So yeah, that's all I have to say
Yeah,
as far as first impressions go.
I do have to say, like, the new Donkey Kong that's come out, but
Mhm.
Bonanza, it's the first time I've been excited for a Donkey Kong
Yeah.
game forever.
Same
So,
here, actually, yeah.
Has that actually come out yet? I
no,
thought that came out
that's in
like
July.
Yeah. But
okay.
definitely you're right. I haven't been excited about Donkey Kong game like this one.
Yeah,
Definitely.
like, I mean, I tried playing Donkey Kong Country 1 a while back and didn't really like it. Got Tropical Freeze, played it for a bit. I was like,
No,
eh.
well, yeah,
But,
wasn't that much for me as well.
Yeah, okay, you guys already know my experience. I pre-ordered it by accident when I was in Germany. I kept it anyway. I did my unboxing video, which I don't know if you guys actually
Yeah,
watched
yeah,
my
I did.
unboxing video,
yeah,
but
I did.
I appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, it was just kind of like, all right, let's all just look at this thing. I'm glad I got it staple free, which again was funny. But then as I told you guys in that video, like then I sat down, of course, and actually played it and used it, and it's not like bad. It's. I think Abdullah kind of said it best. It didn't feel like anything special. It's just this is the Switch Pro. It's an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever. Except it makes my usage case is different than I think a lot of the expected usage case, which is I'm not evolving it from the original Switch. I'm just kind of treating it like its own separate thing, even though that's really difficult to do because it tries to not be its own separate thing.
Yeah.
To be fair, a lot of people have pointed out that the emulation on it is actually really good. And to that end, after the video, I had just picked up a new Switch game. I guess I can spoil it here. It doesn't really matter. There was a new Power Rangers game called like Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, and I
Oh,
picked it
that
up for
thing.
the Switch. Yeah, I picked it up for the Switch, and I decided to pop it in the Switch too. Now, that's a low-demand game, to be fair. But I decided to just play that on the Switch too for a while, and I gotta admit, it was fun. I was enjoying myself playing that with Pro Controller on a TV. Of course, I'm using the Pro 1 controller. But I was like, okay, yeah, I got no issues there. Granted, I don't know that game well enough to know what the difference would have been. But people are basically saying that the Switch backwards compatibility is actually pretty good for the most part. There's plenty of exceptions because it is ultimately a form of emulation. And as I said in my video, emulation comes with pros and cons. You know, like it can run things hypothetically better at higher resolutions and so on and so forth. But it also is hat on a hat, so it can introduce bugs that were never intended to be there. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
But I guess for the most part, it's doing well. From the actual game content library, the only game I got was Mario Kart World, partially because it was the only game that interested me, and partially because it's really the only game that was truly a physical title anyway. And I played that for quite a few hours. I was really quite enjoying myself with that game because I actually do like Mario Kart as a franchise. I can understand why people don't like it unless they're competitive or if they're doing it in a party context. Like Mario Kart is a weird game to sit down and just play with by yourself for
Yeah.
hours on end. I get that completely. But to me, I've always enjoyed it that way. I've never been much for multiplayer stuff. So I was enjoying myself with that. However, I will admit that open world mode, I don't even know if you tinkered with that. I didn't get much out of that. I really just kind of enjoyed it for the traditional racing context. But yeah, so yeah.
I mean, I messed around with the free roam mode a bit. It's cool that it's there. You could like see how stuff connects outside of like racing, but honestly, it's like whatever. And honestly, the whole like drive to your next race destination thing was a little bit more underwhelming than I thought it was going to be at first, because it's basically all it is just like the first lap of your race is going between the two tracks, or however many laps it is, depending on the track and what their lap cutoffs are. So it's like, okay, well that's cool, but it's basically just still part of the race. Like, when I first heard about it, I mean, I was expecting like something like, okay, race is over, now drive to the next one, and then race starts. But I mean, that does give it the ability to do a little bit more variety than like the number of tracks would suggest at first. So I mean, it works. It's still Mario Kart. I'm sure that if I ever get around to bringing it upstairs and playing it with my sister and brother-in-law, we'll have a pretty good time like doing multiplayer. But I mean, for now, I mean, it's good. I enjoyed it about as much as I expected I would, so I'm glad I didn't pay the full $80 for it. But
Technically, neither did I.
didn't you get it?
I did, but so I guess I would have told this in the next playload, but I'll tell it now. So when I ordered it, I was gonna buy it, the full 80 or whatever, but Best Buy randomly sent me like a $10 like coupon thing, so I was like, all right, $10 off. What the hell?
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's just a discount, but whatever.
Yeah, like I mean, in my case, I spent $50 basically. So
because you got the digital version that came with the console.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's the one that was available to me when my friend got the pre-order.
That is totally fine. But for me, I couldn't do that, A, because I don't like digital content, but B, it's one of the only actual physical games.
I mean, that is true. Like, obviously, I wouldn't, if I didn't get it, the bundle, I wouldn't have bought Mario Kart digitally. But...
yeah, of course.
But that's also me knowing that... for me, Mario Kart is okay, that's a cool game to mess around with for a little bit until I find something else to do on this thing. So, but I knew that going in from, like, how I ended up playing Mario Kart 8. So, like, I wasn't going to ever buy it full price, just to have it physically, at least right now. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess Donkey Kong's the next one up that I'm going to be interested in. I said this in my video before, but it bears repeating. To me, the Switch 2 is barely its own console, but I have to kind of treat it like one. And with that understanding, I really am just going to get the handful of physical titles that actually ever exist, and we'll see how long that even lasts. But Donkey Kong is next in that line. So... I don't know how many games I'm going to ultimately have for that thing. I can't imagine it's going to be a whole lot. Because to me, if I'm honest with you guys, the Switch itself, like, it never really caught me the way that other consoles have. Like, I've obviously got one. I've got a bunch of games for it. It's a good little machine. But I never fell in love with it. It was just like, it was like that friend you have that you just see at school. that was the Switch to me. It's like, oh, we're cool at school, but we don't hang out outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a ton of games on the Switch, but eventually it got to the point where it's just like, yeah, I'm only going to get the Nintendo stuff on this from now on, and then once the Steam Deck happened, it's like, well, now I'm definitely only getting the Nintendo stuff on this from now on.
And that makes perfect sense. But where I'm kind of going with that is, I think the Switch 2 is kind of an opportunity for me to revisit the Switch 1 and kind of see all the stuff I didn't really pay much attention to. Just because, as you guys both said very well, it's effectively the Switch Pro. So it's, it is better hardware, and apparently the emulation for the most part actually does things a little better, and it's kind of an opportunity to revisit some stuff that I just didn't really care to do before. It doesn't necessarily make your original Switch obsolete, which I've made very clear, and I still maintain people out there should really hang on to those things, especially because they're worthless. You're at the peak worthless perspective on those things at the moment, so it's not really a good time to trade them in. How has, I guess, kind of, where do you guys want to go with this? Like, we can talk about where we think the system's going to go. We can talk about things we want. We can talk about scarcity. Abdullah, you're of the three of us, you're the only one who's in not the U.S. So, like, what has it actually been easy to find them around?
Here's the thing. So I told you we were able through contact. He managed to get us a system. So that's what we thought. We thought that it was sold out and everything. But the next day after launch day, I opened up one of the websites, one of the store websites, and it was there. I could just get it right now. And I don't know if Amazon the US sells it, but Amazon UAE does sell it, and I can buy one literally right now, no big deal. And I could have bought it even a few days back, no big deal, at market value. But to be, yeah.
So in other words, yeah, you've been able to find it.
Wasn't a problem.
And
So I think even if that contact wasn't able to help us, we would have gotten it, no big deal. But just a note, when the pre-orders happened, or when it was sold, on launch day, there was a bit of increase in the price for some reason, but it wasn't that much. It was like if I'll convert it, maybe like $20 or something more. But now I could just find it.
Well, I don't know how Amazon works for you, but I do know that, like, at the very least, when they sell Nintendo stuff, they never get like actual like pre-orders or stuff. I don't know if they get their stock from Nintendo or if they get it third party.
Yeah, it's probably like stores here that have Amazon accounts. That's what from my knowledge of it, yeah.
So it's effectively resellers. So it's effectively resales. That's either way. The point is it's available to you. Like last night, I went to just a Target, in the U.S., and they still had them in stock. I just got back from Hong Kong and Macau, and for those who don't know, Hong Kong and Macau are technically China, but they're also like special zones because they used to be like British and Portuguese colonies, so they're kind of allowed to be their own thing, sort of. The only reason I bring that up is because they're allowed to have video games and mainland China is not. So I went to a whole bunch of stores looking for cool shit. And I would argue that every single one had Switch 2s in stock. Every single one. Like, multiple. Like, you're talking, like, these are little places that sell, like, smartphone cases, and they have Switch 2s in stock. So it's pretty readily available, at least so far in my experience. And go ahead.
Yeah, like, I haven't, like, been looking in stores or anything or online to see if they're available, because, I mean, I have one, so why would I bother? But I do know, but just, like, from everyone I've talked to who wanted one of these things, they were able to get it, like, no problem in some way or form. I even know, like, someone online who basically, like, the day after it came out, she was like, okay, well, I wasn't able to find a screen protector for my replaced Switch Lite. I did find a Mario Kart Switch 2 bundle, so now I need 2 screen protectors. Like, that was the day after it came out. So, Nintendo certainly seems to have made enough of these things, and usually that would have me, like, worried a little bit about, like, the Switch 2's prospects, except apparently they've already sold, like, 3.5 million units.
I was waiting for that.
I was about to bring that up, yeah. Like, so, that is impressive. Yeah, so historically speaking, for those who don't know, it is almost impossible to walk in on day one and just casually buy a Nintendo console. It's very rare. The only 2 times that I've ever known that to be the case was the Wii U and the Virtual Boy, Nintendo's 2 most infamous failures. So the fact that you were able to buy a Switch 2 so easily suggested something. Meanwhile, they've apparently had the fastest launch in history, at already reaching 3.5 million, and that was as of like a week ago at the time of this recording. So it's probably already exceeded that.
Again, that's sold, not shipped. So that's how
Yeah,
much
exactly.
that
So
actually got into people's hands.
And the fact that you can still find them everywhere says something. It means they mass produced it. And to their credit, like, you know, people have been saying for years Nintendo does intentional scarcity, blah blah blah. Well, not this time at least. Like they absolutely made it viable that if you had the money, you could get one. So yeah, I mean, I guess you got to
I guess if they were able to get the games out a little bit sooner and didn't care about like people actually being able to get them, we could have had the Switch 2 like maybe a year or two ago, even.
Yeah, I mean, from a hardware perspective, from what I was reading, they actually finalized the hardware like a few years ago. And so I guess they were mostly spending that time just building it, which makes some sense. It's not like those things, you don't design the hardware and then all the units are available the next day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like it takes a long time to build those things. Also, shuffling their production around. I don't know about the... Okay, Abdullah, question for you. The UAE one, is that actually a UAE specific region variant, or is it like they're just mass importing them from the US?
I'm not sure if there is yet a UAE variant. I haven't seen one. The one we got was European.
Okay, do you
not
have
at
the
the moment.
box near you? All right, well, do you recall, or are you able to check where it was actually manufactured? It should say on the
Vietnam.
box. The reason I bring that up is the American ones were all made in Vietnam, and yours was made in Vietnam too. Okay, so that was kind of what I was... That's what I was expecting. So a lot of production of stuff is moving out of China for, let's just say, various reasons. And Vietnam kind of stepped up to the plate. The Vietnam making a good impression on the world by being like, yeah, we've made all the Switch 2s, and they're all readily available, dog. So good for them, you know. Yeah, it's interesting as you get older and you see that those type of things change. Like, made in China will no longer be the standard. It'll probably be made in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's I don't know. Let's switch it up here. Get it? What? I don't know. We could talk about like future games you're hoping for, or any other developers, or game key cards. Oh, you know what? I got one. Did you guys hear that? Do you guys know what the Switch MIG card is?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear about this?
The whole console's getting banned for
Switch
using
2
that thing?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so let's go over this for those who don't know. MIG Switch was, I think it was actually Russian developed, a like flash card for the original Switch, where you could basically dump games to it, and then run them essentially as, you know, like an EverDrive type of deal. I never got one of these things. It seemed a little convoluted to use, and I don't really like doing that with relevant consoles because they're so much more band happy on stuff like that. Anyway, so that's exactly what happened. You can use the MIG Switch technically in a Switch 2 to run Switch 1 content. However, we now know that Nintendo bans consoles for that. They'll still work, but they work in like offline mode only. So some guy kind of went semi-viral the other day for pointing that out because he showed it. And it kind of confirms that Nintendo has the ability to more or less brick your system remotely if they want to. But again, to be fair, his system still functions, just not online. But they still have the capacity to make it stop doing that.
And console manufacturers have been doing this for like decades, since like Xbox 360 and PS3. It's not new.
Yeah.
If they detect a hack system, they ban it.
Essentially, yes. I think what his issue is that he was the guy who dumped his own game, so legally he could do that, whereas Nintendo just decided he couldn't.
Well,
that's where it...
Here's the thing, like, as far as, like, using the MIG Switch goes, Nintendo's not really going to be able... Nintendo's not going to know that they're his... They can't know that they're his...
I know,
so
I know. Believe me, I understand. And it's not their responsibility to make sure your pirated stuff works on their system. I get it. I understand. But it was just kind of an interesting little like legalese argument that was kind of interesting to watch play out. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Now I imagine Switch 1s are going to be hacked to death and just kind of left offline for anybody who's like, all right, I got a Switch 2 and I can hack up my Switch 1, etc. Apparently, like, those launch models are crazy easy to do that with.
Yeah, I ended up doing that with my launch Switch, and then I never really did anything with it. Like, as soon as I finished the hack, it's like, cool, I have it hacked now. And then I never actually got around to, like, doing anything with it, like backing up my games or whatever. But
that's because you're like us. It's a project, and as soon as it's done, you're like, well, that was cool. I got other projects to work on now. Like, you don't actually do anything with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. So I guess we could talk about some games. You know, like Donkey Kong we already talked about is coming up. Is there anything else we know of that you guys are like super excited about at this point? I know you were talking about Pokemon before. I imagine there's more of that coming.
Yeah, Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out. It's going to have a Switch and a Switch 2 version, so I'm confident that one will actually run decently. Whatever happens after that with Pokemon, I have no idea, though. Like, I'm no longer a buy Pokemon day one, like, pre-order person, because after Scarlet and Violet, it's like, how do I know I'm going to get a functioning game? Like, I had fun with Scarlet when I played it when it came out, but I had to force myself to finish it because the performance was just that bad. Like, I was only semi-joking, like, when I was talking to friends, like, on voice chat while I was playing. I was like, God, having Pokemon Violet be functional is weird. And, like, one of my friends was like, was it really that bad? And then another one was like, oh, yeah, it was bad enough that most speedrunners gave up on playing it. Like,
that's impressive.
Yeah, like,
usually Nintendo is less guilty of stuff like that.
Again, like I said, if I was going to give any credence to the rumors that the Switch OLED was originally supposed to be a Switch Pro, Pokemon, the improvement that Pokemon Violet and Scarlet have on the Switch 2 tells me that basically, Game Freak expected there to be more powerful hardware, and for most people who cared about performance, who was buying Pokemon to have one. So,
yeah. Okay, so is there another upcoming Pokemon game you guys are like excited about?
Nothing else announced besides Legends ZA, which is impressive for them because they're usually like pretty yearly on the dot new Pokemon game. So the fact that we haven't, other than Legends ZA, we haven't heard about anything new since like the DLC for Scarlet and Violet came out actually does bode well for the quality of the next one, but we'll see.
Okay. Are there any... then we can do fantasy time. Any other franchises you are hoping to make some sort of resurgence or anything? I think we know... What do we know? We know that there's another Metroid Prime coming, or another Metroid game, I guess. Prime 4, we now would have to safely conclude, is going to be a Switch 2 title.
I mean, it's also coming out on Switch 1, but yeah.
It is, but that's to me is probably, you know what we're probably going to get with that is, so like we have those Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom like reissues that work on Switch 2 that also work on Switch 1, and I think with those you get the enhancements, but you don't get the DLCs or whatever.
Well, luckily for Tears of the Kingdom, there was no DLC, so it's just Breath of the Wild. But yeah,
sure, but like the fact that the definitive edition is still gimped is dumb, but whatever. My guess is that Nintendo built it that way on purpose, and that's probably how Metroid Prime 4 is going to work.
Yeah,
is that Metroid Prime 4 for Switch 2 will work on Switch 1 would be my guess, and then it'll have the option for extra, downloads for
the way I
better
think
textures
that
and so on.
actually works, like as far as like the Switch 2 upgrades go, like for the cart ones, I think it's like a weird hybrid Switch 1, Switch 2 cart that can work on both. And actually does have the actual like Switch 2 edition stuff on the cart, because the new Rune Factory game, the Switch 2 edition, the company was just flat out saying, yeah, it has the Switch 1 game on it, and if you plug it into the Switch 2, it also has the Switch 2 edition stuff on the cart. So
that's good at least.
Yeah. So I think that's what's going to happen, but we'll wait and see, I guess.
Yeah. So outside of Metroid Prime, what other franchises would you like to see make a return? Like, we got Mario Kart, so we got one for the next, 15 years, I guess. Because they don't make Mario Kart. That's the thing, man. We live in an age now where they don't make sequels for stuff like that as often as they used to. Like GTA, like famously, now is like a once every 20 years type of game. Mario Kart's like once a decade now.
I mean, World was originally intended to be on the Switch, but like when they were making it, they were just like, we can't do this, and that's why 8 Deluxe, despite being a definitive edition, got additional DLC.
Well, that makes perfect sense. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, like, what other franchises or whatever are you kind of hoping for? Since we got Mario Kart, that's done. You're not getting another one of those. We're going to probably see, I would imagine, a successor to Super Mario World Odyssey, Super Mario Odyssey. Or just a brand new thing.
We'll probably get a new 3D Mario. We'll definitely get a 2D Mario. Despite the fact I never actually got through Xenoblade 2 or played Xenoblade 3, I'm hoping that Xenoblade keeps continuing and that they get a Xenoblade Chronicles 4 or whatever. I need to play through all of them. It's just they take such a long time.
Sure. Well, they're big RPGs,
yes.
aren't they?
Yeah,
that would do
RPGs.
it. Yeah.
Like, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition came out. I want to pick that up because there's apparently epilogue stuff in there, and that's the Xenoblade Chronicles game, like, on the Wii U that, like, actually set up a sequel, and then that never happened, whereas Xenoblade Chronicles 1 got a sequel in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that's apparently actually connected to that one somehow. I don't necessarily know how, but, like, if someone told me that a Xenoblade Chronicles game was going to get a sequel, I would before like 2 came out, I would have assumed it would have been Xenoblade Chronicles X2, not Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because Xenoblade Chronicles X has nothing to do with the other Xenoblade Chronicles games.
So, like every RPG universe, it has a bunch of weird spin-off games.
Well, I think 2 and 3 are actually connected to 1 somehow. I don't know how, but Chronicles X is its own thing. Like, very...
That's what I mean. I was just saying, like, every big Final Fantasy has, like, weird ones that don't have anything to do with the
same with Breath of Fire.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying, is, like, every... Speaking of which, you would think Breath of Fire will probably have another one.
I think the last real Breath of Fire game that came out was, like, Dragon Quarter on PS2, so... I mean, it's due for...
Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking Fire Emblem. Sorry,
we'll definitely get another Fire Emblem for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, sorry, that was just brain fart. I'm trying to think about, like, what other Nintendo IPs that I love that we have not seen in a while, where it doesn't necessarily be the character, but like okay, you know what would be really cool to me?
A new F-Zero
would be... No, I mean, sure, but that doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
What I would actually really like to see is a true successor to Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. Like that, the way that game works. Like, I know you can obviously redo that in like Mario Maker and all that sort of thing, but like, and obviously we've had the same style of gameplay with things like New Super Mario Bros. U, but like, I'm talking just like a straight up 2D SNES style version of that is like the sequel we never got. In, Yoshi's Island wasn't really a proper follow-up. I know, believe it or not, they were working on Mario Wacky Worlds was supposed to be a follow-up, and that was for the CDI of all things. Mm-hmm. That didn't pan out. But like, it would be really cool to see Nintendo kind of do that. It would be a budget title, certainly.
So
but
you want Super Mario World Mania, basically.
Sure. Yeah, like Super Sonic Mania. That's a great way of thinking about it. They could totally do it.
Yeah, of course.
That would be a fun one. But that's just me being waxing nostalgic. Whereas, like, more mainline stuff, I don't know. Like, to me, I still think it's too late for that. I was gonna say a Virtual Boy collection, but the time has passed. Like, that would have had to have been on the 3DS.
Oh God, yeah. Like that would have had to have been there for sure. Maybe we'll get a new Star Fox that's good.
Yeah, that would be good. I'm sorry, I'm being too much of a hipster because I'm thinking about like the very specific titles I want rather than whole franchises. Like obviously, you know, a generic new 3D Mario adventure type of game, or another Luigi's Mansion would be nice. Granted, we got one on Switch, so I don't know if that's like it's not
We're
quite.
getting a port of 2 if it's not out already on
Yeah,
Switch 1.
I think
so.
I think it already is. I think I saw it in Hong Kong actually.
Okay.
Or I might even own it for all I know. But like I don't remember. I'm trying like obviously we're okay. Let's do with some gold standards here. I'm sure we're gonna get another Smash Brothers. That seems obvious. With Smash,
Where do they go from Ultimate?
well, it's obvious. You keep doing that, but you just make it bigger and add more characters. Like that's all they're gonna do.
I mean, that's all they can do, really. But
That's exactly. But I was actually about to ask, do you think that that's the wrong direction? Do you think maybe like Smash is too big for its own good? Like part of the reason I never really got into the the later ones is it was so complex with how many characters and how much there was going on that I was kind of like it's almost overwhelming to even start it.
I could go either way, honestly. Like either the next Smash like curtails the roster quite a bit, or it does Ultimate and you just get a bunch more stuff. The thing is though is like I don't really know which would be better because you have downsides to both. Like obviously the game will be more balanced if there's less characters to worry about. But so many people are going to complain if their main's not there. At least for anyone who plays Ultimate, like, religiously, or, like, competitively. Maybe they'll go really out of left field and give us Super Smash Bros. Melee on Nintendo Switch Online.
Oh, that seems probable to me. Because, like, that game is so popular that even Nintendo, at the height of their we don't care about retro stuff, was re-releasing GameCube controllers. Like, they get it. Mm-hmm. So now that they have a system they can actually distribute GameCube games on, legitimately, I'd be shocked if they didn't add that at some point. Because that's just free money. It's a game you already own. That they would be stupid not to. The only issue with that would be how perfect is the emulation and like how much does it upset the Smash community? Like would they be allowed to use it in tournaments? Like do you put that level of effort into it? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, Abdullah, you're the biggest Nintendo guy of the three of us. Like what would you like to see, any sort of sequel or successor or remake or dude, fantasy time. Like I'd love to see another give me a follow-up to New Super Mario Bros. U. We got the Switch version with the extra content, Bowser's Fury, all that stuff. But give me like a whole new one.
Yeah, so by the way, just I wanted to make a note. So I am not sure about whether the UK version was manufactured in Vietnam or not. I can maybe double check that later. But but in the US it is, I believe, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the Vietnamese. Yeah, they made the US
one.
version.
I'll look at it and definitely share that if I can. All right. So in terms of games, so you guys have mentioned almost everything they wanted to say, which is the main line. No, that's fine.
Sorry.
Pretty much mainline, mainline Mario games. Now I think. Because of how bad the Wii U was, so they had to release the stuff that was on it on the Switch and kind of, add a few things here and there. So definitely looking forward to a new mainline Mario game, 3D Mario game, hopefully better than Odyssey, because I don't know if I mentioned this before or not, I'm not the biggest fan of Odyssey. It's not my personal favorite. It's a good game, but in terms of 3D Mario games, it's not not one of my favorites. Oh, that'll be Sunshine.
What is your favorite?
Yeah, I put myself under some heat now, didn't I? But
No, not at all. If anything, I was gonna say that's like, to me, Super Mario Sunshine is the true successor to Super Mario
Yeah,
64 that
Sunshine
we never got.
is a pretty good game, and yeah, that's one thing as mentioned. I mean, Mario Kart that's already been done, as you guys said. Super Smash definitely gonna look forward to what they're gonna do. Um, Other Nintendo series, I mean, Donkey Kong, that's already been established. Um, uh, I don't know what you guys think of Mario Sports games, but I like those. So I'm
Well,
I have nothing against them. I just don't seek them
yeah,
out.
I don't play them, but I mean, they probably
yeah
sell a lot. So, and they're almost certainly going to be coming. So, I don't think you have anything.
Like
to worry about.
I've played some Mario Tennis. It's fun, but do I like go holy shit a new Mario Tennis? No, I don't lose my mind
yeah.
over it. But like, hey, all right, why not? It's good content. It's nice, solid B tier content.
You can mostly have
rely
fun
on
with
it, but I'm not
when
getting
playing
excited
with
about
others.
it.
Especially Mario, yeah, Mario Party,
Yeah, exactly. They're
fun
party
as
games.
well. Yeah,
Yeah, that seems obvious as well.
and
I guess
yeah,
it's the hipster douchebag in me. I just want to find like the series that hasn't had a comeback in a long time that would
well,
actually
I
be
was gonna
exciting to hear
mention,
from.
I mean, yeah, that's why I
But
brought up F-Zero. But
yeah, so I was gonna
yeah, that's true.
mention, I mean, not from Nintendo, Sonic. I was really happy when Sonic X Shadow Generations was announced, but then it turned out to be a key card, and I'm excited to see what Sonic games are gonna come. But I mean, yeah,
I can almost
Sega
guarantee you
went,
that
yeah,
they're all
Sega
gonna
went
be
that way. I mean,
key card shit. Yeah.
Sonic Crossworlds racing game is coming up. Uh, but uh, yeah, I think it'll probably be a game card. But I also I believe there's Crosswords will have a Switch and a Switch 2 version. I'm not really sure on that whether it'll be yeah,
I'm
yes,
sure it will. That makes sense
yeah,
because like they
for the
they built
Switch.
they built the game for next gen consoles, and they want to have the option for the Switch 2 to take advantage of it. But they're also not naive. Sonic on the Switch still makes
Yeah,
money,
but
so you got to make it work.
yeah, I'm not
And
sure.
so that's
I
that's
mean,
just what they're
maybe
doing.
if you get it on both, so you will have a physical version of it on a Nintendo console for the Switch 1, but in the Switch 2, maybe it'll be a game keycard, maybe uh I don't know how it'll go, but that's a game I'm looking forward to playing. That is, and the reason I'm mentioning it because it's a Switch 2 discussion and it is technically going to be on it, so that's one thing I'm looking forward to.
yeah.
Yeah, but like but honestly, dude, like I think I'm with Joseph here. Like I don't think unless they're physical, true physical, there's no chance I'm picking up any third party content for this thing. Especially knowing that the games like that one, like
Oh,
Crosswords, it's
definitely,
definitely going to
definitely.
perform
So
better on a
I'm
PS5 or
purely
an
thinking
Xbox
of
or
it
a
in terms
PC
of
or whatever.
uh,
Yeah,
So
just being able to play it on the console. Yeah, yeah.
yes, technically it
But
will work. I don't dispute that. Yes,
yeah. By the way, the fact that you
but
mentioned
that's just me. You know.
physical games reminded me that, and I think you mentioned this in your video. How it's gonna be, how it's an interesting library to collect for. Probably it's not gonna be as huge as something like the Switch, and it's possible that it's going to be a library collectors are gonna go for purely physical games uh, for the Switch too.
Yeah, we'll have to see how we'll have to see how many companies ever actually do it, and like if any of the little indie companies like limited run games or special reserve games or any of those guys decide to do it. Let's talk about that because I think this is a good opportunity to swing into that subject. Because of the game key thing, let's go over this for those who somehow missed it because occasionally this happens. The Nintendo Switch 2 offers a handful of options for games to be delivered to the console. Digitally, which is where you go to the eShop and you spend money and you download the game. And then there's also Nintendo Switch Online, which is also a digital service, so there's games in there. That's one thing. Then there are the two types of games you can buy physically. One is called a game key or a key card. I keep hearing it thrown around both ways. But basically, it's a physical little cart with no data on it. It essentially just contains a blueprint that tells the Switch 2 to go online and download the game digitally. And the key card effectively just acts as a way to unlock the digital title. The primary reason this even exists is so that store shelves can have a product on them, and that helps to advertise the existence of the game. But they effectively cost nothing to produce because they consist of really nothing. And then the last means, the one that we care about for the most part anyway, is the true physical media games that actually have real data on them. And those consist of 64 gigabyte chips that are kind of expensive to produce, hence the problem. And only a handful of games such as Mario Kart World actually use them. Cyberpunk uses it. There's not too many that do. And the reason they do not is they're expensive to produce, and most developers have decided they just don't care about that, which sucks for physical media people like me, at least. And so that's that situation. So when I'm talking I got a bunch of people who work in the game industry that I've known for many years. Because I've been doing this for so long, you do make friends along the way. And I can tell you that there have been a lot of them being like, I don't know what our company's going to do, because we're very much pro physical media and we want to produce this, that, and the other, but our game is like, a gigabyte, and we cannot financially justify buying 64 gigabyte cards because they're extraordinarily expensive to produce, and we can't possibly sell the game at that rate. But we also don't want to use game keys because that defeats the whole purpose of what we stand for. So the current standard has been a lot of these devs being like, I guess we're just going to stick to Switch 1 production for as long as Nintendo allows it, which puts the Switch 2 in kind of a weird position. Now, I want to say something because I can't believe I have to, but the comments section of some of these Switch videos I put out have been kind of hilarious. People are like, no, Switch 2 games don't actually cost money because SD cards are stupid cheap. And I had to explain that SD cards are not the same technology as cartridges. It's effectively like saying, oh, my SD card is the same as RAM. It's like, no, they're both very different pieces of technology. They are not the same. Just because your SD card was cheap doesn't mean a Switch cartridge is the same technology.
If it truly didn't cost anything to make them, no one would be using the game key cards.
Precisely. So, but then the people who make that argument also say it's just Nintendo being greedy, which is usually like 6-year-old kids who have no idea how economics works.
Right.
So it's not worth engaging. But still, you occasionally get the adult who actually thinks that SD cards are the same technology. Spoilers, they're not.
Nope.
Yeah. So
that's definitely going to be It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen, especially when it comes to people who really care about physical games. But you mentioned it as well, and it's very clear. Most people don't really care.
Yeah, they don't.
About a game being physical or not. Like my brother himself, he doesn't care. Most of his games are digital.
Yeah, like I said, I've multiple times. I've switched mostly to PC gaming at this point, so I kind of don't really care super much anymore. But like as far as consoles go, I've been mostly. There's a couple of digital games I'd get here or there for whatever reason, but I was mostly trying to stick to physical. But with Switch 2, with Switch 2, I'll probably still do that since it's probably going to primarily be a Nintendo game machine.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't have the option for third-party games for actual physical, with the exception of like Rune Factory or Cyberpunk. So, and since I have a PC with a 3090 in it, I'm probably not. If I wanted to play either of those games, Rune Factory, I don't know how the PC port of the newest one is, but if I wanted to play Cyberpunk, A, I would have done it by now, and B, it's going to be on the PC.
And that's completely reasonable. Like, I'm very pro physical media, but I've never seen people who support digital as the enemy or anything. I get that in the comments a lot, but because like there is this common misconception, at least that in my comment section, that I am naive and that I'm holding out and I think the digital's never coming. No, quite the opposite. I've been saying for a decade, this is coming. This is nothing we can do about this. Prepare to insulate you as an individual the best you can. If you care, that's the matter. Do you care? Your reasons for caring can boil down to supporting just the concept of owning your property, or ownership rights in general, or just having something to resell. Like, you can have a multitude of different reasons why you support something physically or digitally. And if you support digital because you just see it as a convenience, that is fine. Just understand what you've also lost in that process, the right of ownership. So, actually, one guy... this was hilarious. So in my comment section, he was talking about how digital is superior because, quote, guess what? If your house burns down, you're not getting those games back. And I was like, if it burns down and you have insurance, they pay you back. Do you know how I know that? That fucking happened to me. So, you know what they do not give you money back for is all your digital titles in a system that no longer can reacquire them. Mm-hmm. I can't believe that I have to explain this to adults. And I know I've told this story before, but this dude in one of my comments, this was a good comment. This guy was telling me, and I'm going to repeat this story because it's worth repeating. A guy in my comments, maybe last year, on the Switch anniversary video, he was telling me a story about his son and his son's friend. Now, his son and his son's friend both decided to get the Switch at the same time. And they decided they're going to get all the same games, because this is just what they were doing as little kids, as friends, that they're going to have the same games. But the dude commenting made his son buy the physical editions, whereas his son's friend was getting all the digital ones. And his son was complaining, man, we have to go to the store, and I have to go get this thing, and then I have it, and I have to, change between carts. And he saw those aspects of it as negatives. Whereas his friend was lame, I could just sit in bed and just download whatever I want, and everything's fine. I don't have to go anywhere. Oh, it's so great. Thinking he's got the better deal, because he gets to be lazy. He gets to have the convenience of it. And then the two of them, as friends, decide, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go get the next thing. I don't know if they were trading up to an Xbox or a PlayStation or whatever they were doing. But they basically decided, okay, we want to get the new thing. In order to do that, we have to sell our Switch. So they go to GameStop, right? And the first kid with all the physical games, he gives the guy the Switch, and he gives them all the games. And the guy's like, all right, I'll add all this up and blah, blah, blah. And he does that. He's got a total. And I don't know what the number was, but, it was X, right? And then the second kid, they take his Switch and they value it up. And he gets just the system value. And the kid's like, wait. How come he gets so much more money? And they're like, because he has all these games and you don't. He's like, no. All the games are on the system. I download them all. And they're like, right, they're digital. We have to wipe the system. You don't own these. There's nothing to sell here. And the kid learned an extremely valuable lesson, both of them did, which is that the physical content had inherent value and the digital content did not. Now, the argument, of course, is that kid could theoretically go get a Switch again sometime later in his life, and if he remembers all his login information and Nintendo hasn't shut down the servers, cool, he can go re-get those back, I guess. But the first kid who wanted to get something bigger in that moment, who was also choosing to trade away the system, got way more bang for his buck.
Right.
Because he owned the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the point I've been trying to make to people. And you choose whatever destiny is appropriate for you. But keep in mind, your Steam account, and I know I'm not targeting you specifically, Joseph, you bought those things, great, enjoy them. But if you were like, man, I really wish, I need an asset. My life is falling apart, I need a car payment, whatever. Your Steam account is not an asset.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Whereas your collection of whatever, stacks of PS2 games, if you're forced to get rid of them, they're technically an asset. You can get something back for that.
Again, that's why on consoles I was sticking with physical.
Yeah, and completely understandably so. So play your games however you want. Just understand that just because that game exists by two distribution methods does not mean they are the same value. But I think the majority of the audience who would listen to this already knows this. Mm-hmm. The only reason I got so many specific comments like that about the idiot with the fire insurance and all that shit was because that video reached outside my audience
Right.
for the first time. Like, I don't get that too often because I'm too much of a hipster. I don't cover popular topics very much. But yeah, that was one where it actually broke through. And so you got some of the quote unquote normies watching this, and they're like, man, I didn't know any of this. I didn't think about any of that. Then you, of course, get people like that. Digital's better. I just turn on the system and I download it. And plus, you can't get it back if it's in a fire. You fucking idiot. Like, I was not nice to that guy.
I mean, if the game's out of print and you can't find it anywhere, then maybe, yeah. But at the same time, if that's the case, it's probably not available digitally either. So, at that point.
Yeah, if that's the... Plus, I mean, how often have we seen that that's the case? You know, like, legitimate distribution, where some physical game is crazy expensive and valuable for, like Panzer Dragoon Saga on the Sega Saturn, perfect example. Completely out of print, completely denied any sort of modern day distribution. The only way to legitimately own it is to go out and get the very low print run original Saturn version. Of course you could pirate it, no one's disputing that, but if you actually want to possess the thing...
Well, buy thousands of bucks, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
like piracy is a different discussion, but it is funny the direction that this is taking us. I actually got a comment from a guy last night that was kind of baffling. He said, let me pull it up. Let me see if I can find it, because it was genuinely stupid as hell, and I had to screenshot it and post it in my Discord server because I couldn't. Okay, so the guy says, out of context, this is on my Switch 2 like initial impressions video. He says, and quote, "And thank God for that. Get a job, brokies." I responded, "Who is this aimed at?" And he says, quote, "People who are crying about digital games since they know it will get harder to pirate games, especially when most games will be cloud-based in the near future. That's where all this hate is really coming from. It's not a, quote, digital apocalypse. It's an evolution of the gaming industry to hopefully stamp out piracy once and for all." And I responded, "I have to admit, that's a new take. Here, I thought all the money we were constantly spending on physical games and collections were purchased. I didn't realize I had downloaded all of my plastic."
Like,
so this guy's making the case that digital games exist to prevent piracy, and because eventually we're going into cloud games and that's whatever. And I'm like, really? That's what you think? Like, I didn't realize all the physical games I bought had been downloaded. I just I didn't know that.
I mean, that's definitely a reason why publishers want everything to go digital only. But
I know, and that's where I'm eventually leaning in with this. Is you realize, and I've said this before in videos, as content becomes more and more digital dependent, it's reaching a point where the only way to preserve or play these games in the future is through illegitimate means. Like, they're creating that as the only pathway. And it's step outside of video games. Even if we go to like TV and movies and stuff, like like Disney Plus, right? Disney Plus has to create a bunch of its own unique original content. And because they do that, and that stuff isn't grandfathered into them just owning content outright, they have to pay distribution deals to the actors, the producers, etc. But if the show doesn't make absolute banger money, like something like The Mandalorian, then they have to pull the show because they can't afford to keep it there. So you have a bunch of videos and movies and things that were created specifically for a streaming service with intentionally no physical edition, no broadcast edition, that is then pulled from digital distribution because it's too expensive to maintain. Thus, the only way to ever watch that content again is through pirated, illegitimate means. Is this really the direction we want to go with video games as well? You put games up in a cloud service and say like, oh, this game has to be here, but because of modern day, union rules about how games have to work, the game has to be making money. Oh, it's not making money more? Pull the game eternally and no one's ever allowed to play it again. This is what you want? Dipshit in the comments? This is a stupid direction to be aiming for. And I'm not even saying he's wrong that this is inevitable. Sadly, it probably is. But that doesn't mean we have to embrace it. You can slow this down, but whatever.
I'll give Paramount credit, like, for all their streaming stuff for Star Trek. They've released Blu-rays of basically all of it.
Yeah, they have. Disney has been very
as
friendly. To be fair, though, Disney has done some of that lately. They did put out, like, The Mandalorian and some of the Marvel stuff on 4K Blu-ray and Blu-ray, probably just because it was a way to appease fans and add another revenue stream, but I don't pretend to know. Because there's a lot of that stuff they didn't do with. Like, they did a Mighty Ducks show. I don't know if you ever saw it. They did one season of that, I think. And then, same deal, they had to pull it. So, like, there's all these, like, programs they made, legacy content. I'm not even saying I want the fucking Mighty Ducks show on Blu-ray. I don't care about that show in particular. But the idea that we live like that now, it's just very weird. So, I don't know, whatever. Again, physical media. So, like, lately I've been watching a lot of, like, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I love that show. But I have HBO Max. I could go over there and watch it. But it's like I have to sit through a bunch of nonsense, or I just put it in the DVD and it's just functional. Or South Park. I don't know if you saw that. South Park's going through all sorts of streaming rights issues. And I think it's Paramount is now getting it back, but they're intentionally pulling a bunch of episodes they consider too offensive or whatever. Which is, it's like, dude, it's South Park. Or they're editing episodes now. And so it's like, not me. I got the Blu-rays. Like, but whatever.
Huh.
I don't know. It just baffles me that we're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really are.
Strong technology.
Yeah, exactly. Content can, if this is what I've been saying for the better part of a decade plus. If you allow everything to have a digital dependency, then you are not in control of it. You're essentially giving that autonomy over to a corporate overlord who can take it away from you with a Thanos level snap anytime they wish to. We were just talking about the MIG switch thing and how technically, yeah, the guy probably should have understood that it came with some risk. But the idea that you could just do that they could just remotely brick your content is bad. Mm-hmm. And it really, like, you know, Sega does exist. They are still around. But imagine a world where Sega could deauthorize function of a Sega Genesis 30 plus years later. Like, is that really where you guys want to be? Is that really how we want to do this? Like, we really want to just have everything be so dependent that nothing functions? God, no. Like, the idea that the Sega Genesis will most likely outlive the Switch 2 is ridiculous. Because Nintendo no longer does distribution of 3DS, DS, Wii, or Wii U titles. To their credit, you can re-download stuff still.
Which was news to me, but I'm glad you could still do that.
It was news to me, too. Yeah, it was news to me, too. But, okay, so that, I don't have this, the quote in front of me, but there was a guy who brought that up in my comment section. He was just like, he's like, but you can re-download Wii and stuff, and it's fine, so your digital apocalypse predictions are wrong. And I was like, well, really, that's interesting, because they have shut down other ones. And he's like, what? And I was like, well, GameCube's online functionality doesn't work at all. The RANDnet for the Nintendo 64 doesn't work. Satellaview for the Super Famicom no longer works. And so that stuff eventually goes down. And his response was, yeah, but those are really old. And I was like, so I just want you to understand, dude, in 10 years from now, the Wii will be the same age. And when it goes down, is your response going to be like, oh, never mind, I changed my opinion completely because it's old now? Like, that's... Mm-hmm. My point is, eventually, these all go offline.
For real,
it will
forever.
happen. Yes, and they do not return outside of illegitimate means, which is ridiculous. By the way, that was somebody else's response. Some dude was like, yeah, digital stuff actually does stay up forever, because, like, look at the Dreamcast. All the servers are back online. I'm like, because fans did that. Sega did not turn that on. I cannot believe I have to explain this to, again, an adult. It's just baffling. But again, some of this video reached, like, outside of the
community. And to be fair to some of them, despite what you would think, a lot of, like, the newer, like, Gen Z and, like, I guess Gen Alpha is not old, so, like, Gen Z or even, like, some millennials are bafflingly computer illiterate.
I agree. Yes, they don't know any better, and that's fine. That's why I'm trying to make videos to be like, look, this is a warning. Like, this happens. This will eventually happen. I admit that Sony has kept the PS3 online much longer than I thought they would. I'll give them all the credit in the world. They did try to shut it off, if you remember that.
Yeah, and then people either complained and or like started buying more stuff, and they're like, maybe it's worth keeping.
Well, I think that the problem they had is they went too big too quickly because they were trying to shut down PS3, PSP, and PS Vita like all on the same day. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, that might have been too big. They might have been able to get away with like, okay, we're shutting off just PSP. Or we're shutting off just the PS3. But all three on the same day. Like, I think Vita, it was a little too early for that. But my point is, guys, if Nintendo is the most guilty of doing this, and they have made a system that is utterly dependent upon it. And I also have seen comments from people who goes, dude, video games are just short-form entertainment. You play it, you move on, you never come back. I don't care if they shut it off and I never have access to it again. That's the same type of people who say, once you read a book, you never need to revisit it. That is fine. That's a different mentality.
And they're watching a gaming YouTube video?
I know. That was my next thing, too. You would think that was a very casual interpretation. Like, I mean, yeah, like, I don't expect the movie ticket I purchased allow me to go back to a theater and rewatch it infinitely. I understood it was a one-time use. But video games, when you purchase them, there is a certain social and mental expectation that they work persistently. And we're fortunate we don't live in that environment where it's a one-time use deal. And I don't know, apparently to a percentage of the population, that is how they think of it. Like, once you beat the game, why would you ever want to play it again? What do you need to own it for? Why do you care? And that's not my mentality whatsoever. I'm also an extreme case, but just be aware, these people do exist. And sadly, they do represent the majority of people who buy video games.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that lead us down this hole that they have no interest.
I'm surprised that someone with that attitude would be like not caring and be like, oh, just digital. Like, you would think they're the ones who are selling their stuff to GameStop whenever they finish.
They might be, but if they're doing it digitally, they're like, I don't care, because maybe they, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't pretend to tell you. It's not my mindset, so it's hard to get into that. And I don't know. You know, I try to understand it from any angle. Like, I can understand the convenience angle to an extent. I can understand, you know, the laziness angle. I can understand the abject disinterest angle. I can understand all that. I can even understand the financial angle. But when you combine them all, like, they don't necessarily fit into... Like, if you're like, oh, it's financially... you know, it's cheaper to do... It's like, not really, because digital games tend to cost the same amount. If anything, they typically cost more because they don't have, like, MSRP sales. You know, they're completely digital distribution by one network. They get to choose whatever they want. Whereas if you have something physically... Best Buy can maybe do a sale while Target doesn't, or something like that, or like price matching, you know, whatever it is.
Like Steam, where they do those like insane Steam sales, but Steam is also not technically not the only distribution platform on PC for digital games.
Yeah, because PC itself is not owned by anybody; it's a concept. But
yeah,
exactly. But I can guarantee you, if Steam had more of a monopoly, like a true monopoly, they would have no incentive to do that. Mm-hmm. Just like again, Xbox Network, nobody on Xbox other than Microsoft can distribute content through there. So they have complete say over what it is. Nintendo's eShop. It's not like they're competing digital platforms on there. And that to me is why I understood the concept. I don't want it, but I've always understood the concept of digital distribution through PC. Like them or not, Epic is a thing. Windows games or my Xbox Game Pass or whatever the hell Microsoft keeps rebranding themselves as is a thing. Steam is a thing.
Good old GOG games is a thing, and they don't do DRM,
exactly,
which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. There is multiple options through that hardware. And hell, there's some, granted it's extremely limited at this point, there is some physical editions still for PC. Not so much in the US, but it is a thing. Mm-hmm. But for console games, that has never been the case. Microsoft has never opened up the Xbox to say Sony and say put the PlayStation Network on there and sell PlayStation iterations of games to run on Xbox hardware. Granted, if anybody was going to do that, it would be them.
Well,
but,
yeah, because they would hopefully, because they would ideally like get it set up so that they'd have the reverse as well.
Yeah, precisely. But again, that's the digital distribution model on consoles is at best messy and something I would personally never embrace. And I don't know, man, but look, adults are adults, make your own decisions, do whatever you want. I just feel bad for the ones who are misinformed and genuinely believe what they're purchasing is something that exists in perpetuity and then care about the perpetuity, not understanding they don't really ever get it back.
Right.
You know, but that's, I mean, there's only so much you can do to protect an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, that was depressing. Yeah. I am inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and you know, the weird thing about, like, we're talking about this is, like, oddly enough, like, for us, for the most part, like, as far as, like, our games go, like, in theory, I mean, obviously we're not necessarily, I mean, I am, because I do Steam, but, like, in general, like, we're the ones who don't really sell our games all that often, so in theory, we should be, like, if the digital stuff was actually in perpetuity, we would probably be, like, Final Fit, because we don't sell our stuff all that often. Like, the only time I've sold games was, like, when I was moving, I was like, I never played this. I might as well just get rid of it for whatever amount I can actually get for it. It's not even worth, these games aren't even, like, worth anything on, like, a resale market type deal. But that was because I had a physical game, and it's like, I have a bunch of stuff here. I don't have the space for it. I'm moving into my sister's basement. I need to get rid of some stuff. But it's like, but like generally, like the last time I like actually like resold a game to like actually get money for it was when I was in college the first time back in like 2006. Realistically.
Yeah.
So, but we're also, like, as far as consoles go, champion physical media and getting it, because we understand that, like, the digital stuff is not forever. Like, hell, like, users can't really easily repair a Switch 2 or a Switch or replace the battery when the battery dies and the thing doesn't boot up anymore. Like, so eventually, like, all these, like, the Switch and Switch 2, like, 20, 30 years from now, or, like, the Vita, they're going to be completely useless pieces of plastic with exploded batteries in them. Or leaking batteries and completely useless and unusable.
Sadly, that is something that I've, again, within the comments section that I've really observed, is that we exist in a very temporary bubble where most of these online quote-unquote conveniences are still operational.
Mm-hmm.
The senior most, I guess, would be the Xbox 360. And even it is now very gimped, but it does still technically chug along. And a generation of gamers has only ever known that ecosystem to function. They've never known what it's like for the Sega channel to stop. You know what I mean? They've never known that type of thing. And so you do see a lot of comments of people being like, no, servers just exist forever. Because they've never known anything else.
And they're not in an industry or don't do a job where they know what a server really is.
Right. And I guess if I grew up in the mentality that everything is just always online all the time and that's just expected, I would probably be naive to think that. You know, like I would think that that's how it's going to always work. Because if you... I love to talk about demographics and generations and how things play out and history. Like, I had talked about in my video, like, how millennials were the first generation that were able to capture and recreate their own childhood, which is why we're so obsessed with it. Because even though VCRs, I had a lot of Gen Xers say, actually, it was us. No, it wasn't. You guys came about when the VCR was created. To us, it was a standard item. It existed all the time, and we recorded, you know, whatever, Rocko's Modern Life, Power Rangers, whatever it was, on these tapes that we could rediscover years later easily. By the time that tech was around for Gen X, they were already kind of the senior half of their generation.
Yeah.
So like,
and
it's not exactly
when those
the
first
same
came out
thing.
too. They were just like using one tape and like re-recording over it constantly. Like no one would be like, recording off of TV with the idea, I'm going to keep this favorite show of mine forever, because they don't seem to be giving me any. Because it's like back in the VHS days, you didn't get like full sets of shows. That didn't happen until
Correct.
DVD.
You got a few episodes at best, but also when the technology was introduced, even in the 1980s, the technology, or even the 70s technically, would have been the equivalency of like $80-90 or whatever at the time. And it was just not viable to buy multiple tapes. It wasn't until like the 90s you could buy VHS tapes in 3-packs for like $10.
Right.
And that's what we were doing. And that's just one example. Whereas our games were also very similar. Like the console wars, as the Genesis and SNES defined it, really exploded, of course, in the Millennials era. And everybody was kind of conditioned to keep those things and take good care of them. And we held on to them, a lot of us.
Yeah, like I don't have my original systems anymore, but that's because my baby sister has them. So
sure, but like that wasn't the case with Gen X, and certainly not the very late boomers. They weren't raised that way, and that's fine. But where I'm going with this is like our generation is used to the idea that we can kind of hang on to something. And I think that Gen Z and lower are used to the same thing, but not understanding the difference, because they haven't had any of that stuff stop working. Like I said, the Sega Genesis does not require me to link up with a hub somewhere that's owned by Sega that verifies that it's still functional and that I can keep using it. Any cartridge will work on any console, provided the cartridge and the console themselves aren't dead. And the same goes for discs. Now, people always say, oh, yeah, but disc rot. Any person who's ever brought up disc rot, unironically, has no idea what they're talking about, because disc rot is a comically rare phenomenon that really only exists in poorly ventilated environments. Like, true disc rot is very rare.
Yeah.
You keep your stuff in just a basically air-conditioned home, you're going to be fine beyond your lifetime.
Unless if there was like an actual like defect with the disc that just took years.
Yeah, that's a production issue.
Yeah,
that's a production issue. That's different. Now, I am not naive. Physical media, like literally everything humans have ever created, will eventually fade away. Like the pyramids will be the last thing that everybody has to track on the humans of the human race ever even existed. I got it. Like we know that. But they exist within reason in your lifetime, and they are your choice, for the most part, to be able to take care of, preserve, and pass on to anybody you care about. My point is, digital distribution denies you that choice. It is made in a boardroom by a guy with a switch, a physical switch, a little toggle that theoretically can turn off everything. I'm envisioning it that way. It's obviously a computer. But that should bother you, that everything you grew up on that mattered to you, that you said, this is what inspired me to become X, Y, or Z, this is what gave me hopes, this is what gave me dreams, this is what gave me fear, this is what gave me passion, whatever it is not yours to control. It's somebody else's decision, and inevitably will be shut off remotely. That should piss you off. That should make you go, I shouldn't be supporting this. And for us as millennials, where I was going with this is, we had that choice, and we chose not to do that. We chose to archive our own futures, our own pasts, per se, to give ourselves later. Whereas Gen Z lives in a bubble of everything I've ever known exists online and will just always be available to me. But as we're seeing more and more and more in just standard economic practice, things like Disney Plus and all this other distribution stuff we were talking about before, that's not true at all. It's not true at all, and there's no reason to think that was ever going to be true. They just don't know any better because they haven't been around long enough. Fortunately, a lot of them are smart. At least the ones that watch this channel, I know, do that. But obviously, as a whole, it's not the same.
Yeah.
But I try to reach who I can about this type of thing. But at the end of the day, as we keep saying, everybody's their own adult and they can make their own decisions. So whatever. We should go out with a happier note.
Yeah,
something else on the Switch too.
Yes, let's get back to talking about the thing we're actually supposed to be talking about.
We've been talking about the Switch too, because fundamentally this all ties back to it.
True.
Any kid right now who is getting the Switch 2, at some point is going to be an adult and say, I want to revisit my childhood, because that is very human.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Gen X is now revisiting the Atari 2600, which is why the prices on that are spiking. Gen Z is revisiting the Xbox 360. It's millennials who oddly are getting out because we're all buying houses and getting married and stuff and paying bills. But like this has an ebbs and flows thing to it.
Right.
But inevitably, Gen Alpha and so on are going to want to revisit the Switch too, and it's going to be very difficult for them to do when the system doesn't work.
Yeah.
When you can't re-download anything. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I pity them, because their own history will be wiped away without their choice. But yeah, that's why it's relevant to Switch 2. But let's talk on a happier note. Let us talk about, I don't know, a game, something you're excited about, whatever. I don't care. Abdullah, we haven't heard from you in like an hour. What do you got?
I'm enjoying what you guys are saying. Pretty much on the same turf as you guys. Especially regarding digital media. That's just how it is.
Forget that. It's too depressing. Talk about something positive. What are you excited about? What are you excited about with the system? Is there anything you want? Is there an update feature? Is there a usage case where you've been like, I wish they would change this? How's the UI? Anything.
Oh yeah, actually, if they do change the UI, that'll be better.
What would you like it to be like? Less like the Switch one?
Yeah, I mean, now it is pretty much the same, right? So it's not really that big, but
Yeah,
maybe
it's literally the same right now, except for the couple of additional buttons that are only Switch 2. But
maybe add achievements or something.
oh god, yeah, Nintendo still doesn't have achievements system wide. That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go, everybody. That's what we want. Bring it to Switch 2.
Oh, speaking of Switch 2, have any of you like actually tried using Game Chat at all?
No.
Oh no.
I have actually, and it works surprisingly.
Oh, all right.
well.
Let's go with this. Go, Joseph. You're gonna play us out. What do you got?
Okay, so like I've only done it once with like one of my friends, so it was only like 2 people in there. We didn't have webcams or anything, but surprisingly, like the games still basically function like as they do without being on the game chat, without like any real noticeable lag. The audio quality of the inbuilt mic on the Switch is apparently pretty good, because I was able to hear my friend very easily as we were talking. We both had our screens running and like showing what we were doing, and everything was working fine. And like, how did Nintendo not fuck this up? Because it's Nintendo.
Probably because they've spent the better part of 15 years trying to do it.
I guess that's true.
This is something, dude. Microsoft had this. The Xbox 360 had this going all the way back. I don't even remember the name of that thing. What was that little webcam that at one time came with the Xbox 360?
I don't think one actually did. I know Kinect was.
No. There was a game that came with it, and it could be used for other features, for game chat and other things. It goes back. Like, we're talking like 2006, 2007 this thing came out. It's been, like, Sony sort of had it with the iToys. Not exactly the same thing. But, like, the fact that, like, this tech is not new at all is probably why the Switch 2 can do it well. Because it goes back to Gunpei Yokoi and his Game Boy philosophy. Like, let's just use older tech, but get the most out of it. That's really
I was just
where
expecting,
we are.
like, their actual, like, coding implementation of it to be garbage, to be honest, because...
I mean, good for them. They did it right, But
I mean, granted,
again,
I didn't stress test it with like more than one person yet, but I mean, just one-on-one, like 2 people in the chat room, works fine.
So I didn't. Obviously, I haven't used it, but I guess you don't have to use Nintendo's webcam. I guess you can just kind of use whatever.
Oh yeah, you could use any webcam that you can plug into the Switch 2 or the dock, or no webcam at all.
Yeah. So like. That's surprisingly not Nintendo of Nintendo, but I'm glad they did that. So
one thing we should keep in mind is that Nintendo's like leadership is a lot different than when the Switch 1 was in development.
Very.
A lot has been dead for years, and they've gotten more people who are not like Nintendo developers, but like just like general businessmen, I think.
Yeah.
So that probably has something to do with why the Switch 2 is. Like, why I could joke about it just being the Switch Pro.
Yeah. Not at all.
when you
Yeah.
think about
Yeah.
it, because it's like, well, nothing about this is broken, and to their credit, it seems to be working out well for them so far. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, it's also not that interesting.
oh no, it's not
Like,
interesting, but it's working.
Yeah, yeah. It's a utility vehicle. It performs a specific function reliably, but it's not like a sexy car. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just it's the minivan. You know, like it's sweet. It does it gets my groceries. Great. You know what I mean? Like but it's not. You don't write home about it. You're not like impressed to have it. But I don't know. Whatever. We'll have to see, because like what's going to define it eventually is its game library, which is usually the rule.
Mm-hmm.
I did a video many years ago that I tried to discuss what is it that actually defines a console being good or bad. And the short answer is everybody thinks it's about the games. But that actually is not correct. That's only one factor. Because like you can take... If we judge a console solely based on its games, that means those Chinese like pirate clone consoles with like 800,000 games built in is by far the best console ever made.
Wow.
Because it has every game. But no one would make that case because it runs like crap.
Mm-hmm.
So it can't be just the games. There has to be more to
Well,
it.
I mean, it
like
would have to be like the good games that like function correctly, I guess.
yeah, but that's my point. It's not just the games. It's the controller. It's the vibes. It's the market intentions. It's the whole story, the kit and caboodle package deal of the system. And so far, the non-game side of the Switch is functional, uninspired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It works. I have no complaints. The thing isn't stalling constantly. It isn't hard to use. But it's not interesting.
It's not.
You know?
It's not interesting. Like if I wasn't able to get one of these, I mean, it would be like, okay, well, I can't play Pokemon good yet. Oh well. Like I'm glad
Moving
I have
on,
one.
exactly.
But it's
Yeah.
not like anything that if I wasn't able to get one for whatever reason, I would have been like, oh God, I really wish I could get one of these. Like when my friend like in Discord said, okay, I got the Nintendo invite to pre-order a Switch. Did anyone want it? I waited like 10 or 15 minutes before saying yes, seeing if anyone else who was more excited about it would, and no one did. Though, granted, now that I know that Nintendo apparently made so many of them that no one has an issue finding it, I guess it makes sense. But, because everyone in that Discord who wanted it, besides me, already had one, and if I had not gotten kicked out of my first initial wait for it, and, you know, didn't eventually decide that, you know what, sleep was more important than trying to get the system right now, I probably would have had one from Best Buy instead.
Right on, man.
So, I mean...
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, I got one kind of by accident. The most fun I've had with it, if I'm brutally honest, was making those videos.
I mean, that makes sense.
Mario Kart World has been entertaining in of itself as a game, but the most like emotional, mental energy that I got out of it was just being able to discuss it and use it and make videos about it. That has been more interesting than the system itself.
I mean,
but to be fair, the system has just started. Its story is not even close to over.
We're in
but
week
whether
2.
or not that story, exactly. Whether or not that story ever ends up being interesting is another discussion.
Yeah.
But we'll have to maybe revisit it another time. Is there any other thoughts either of you have on the Switch 2 as it stands right now, or
why don't we end
into the
this with
future?
like
yeah?
wish thing? Like, what's the what third party game would you be excited to see on the Switch 2, even if it's never going to be the platform you would play it on?
Well, the problem with that is we have to assume game key or not. So are we just assuming it's physical? Because that without a physical, I don't give a crap.
I mean, in your case, yes.
Okay, so if there's a physical edition of this thing, this is unfair because it's too biased and too easy. Inch is going to re-release Shenmue 3. I'm certain of it. I'm sure they'll put a PS3 version out. Sorry, PS3. PS3, what the fuck's wrong with me? Switch 2. They're going to put a Switch 2 version out, and I'm sure they'll do a game key, even though I really hope they do a physical edition. That would be the obvious answer. If they do that, I'd love to see Sega also do the same thing. I don't think they will. So outside of that, I don't know. I'd love to see just some general collections of other titles. Like, I would love to see Nintendo do a physical GameCube collection, which they will not do because they're doing the whole online version of that. But I would love to see that, or yeah, no, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna say I want to see a physical GameCube collection, like top 10 GameCube games that Nintendo recommends for whatever reason, and a Switch 2 physical cart. Because GameCube games by themselves are 1.35 gigabytes maximum. When you and that's if you remove the dummy sectors, they get smaller unless they were double disc games. A single 64 gigabyte card easily can house 10 GameCube games. Hell, you could do 20 and not have a problem. Shit, you could probably do 40 and not have a problem. I'm not expecting it to be that big. But that is what I would want to see, something like that.
Okay. Abdullah?
That's actually a very, very, very good, very nice concept. If it actually happened, it'd be really,
It won't.
really good. Highly unlikely that it'll happen. Yeah. Something I'd like to see happen in the Switch 2 would probably be getting more physical releases, but I don't really have hopes on that. Something interesting.
Well, yeah, that's why this is specific third-party dream game, even if you would.
Dude,
never
you love
play it.
Sonic. Pick a Sonic thing. Go with a Sonic thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I mean, if I pick a Sonic thing, it'll be not directly related to the Switch 2. But I don't know, maybe a special Sonic edition or something. That'll be something.
Dude, it's fantasy
I'd love
time.
to have.
It's fantasy
So
time.
maybe
Pick a Sonic fantasy for the Switch 2. Hell, make a game called
definitely,
Sonic Fantasy.
So actually,
They
I
would
would
probably
love to
make
see
a game with that name, considering Sonic Mania.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely something like that can actually happen. So
All right, I'm picking
maybe-
Abdullah's for him. He's going with a game called Sonic Fantasy, and it's every Sonic game he's ever wanted all in one compilation, plus a brand new game that is exactly the way he perfectly wants a Sonic game. How about that?
I mean, that's ideal.
There you
I
go.
would
That
actually
was
love
the
to
whole
see
joke.
if they-
That's the whole point of
they
Abdullah.
make
That's what we're saying.
if they make a special Sonic edition or something. Actually, that would be really good.
All right, Sonic
Something
Edition
that-
Switch.
not-
Oh, how about this?
but
A
not-
Sonic Edition Switch 2.
Yeah, something like that, but not those cheap, just Joy-Con thing. No.
Like
The
it was
console,
the full
so-
console
something
getting
engraved in it.
You want
yeah.
it to be like, well
Yeah.
done. I got you. All right.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
you know
that
what would be
nice.
so... Dude, all right, now I'm getting inspired. You know what would be really cool? So,
Yeah.
you know how the Joy-Con one is like blue and one is red? I would love to see a new... We were talking about this years ago. Do you remember this, Joseph?
Mm-hmm.
A Sega versus Nintendo, like open world, like Fallout style RPG.
Oh God, yeah,
But-
I vaguely remember
So they make,
this.
and you grab the 32X and you make it an add-on and your gun gets better. Like all sorts of insane ideas we had. You make that game for the Switch 2, and then you make a Switch 2 edition console, and the red Joy-Con is Mario and the blue one is Sonic. Like, oh my God,
Oh,
free
yeah.
money, Sega, Nintendo, make this happen.
God, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah, one
All
thing
right,
I
there's-
would love to see is games like Sonic Unleashed, for example, show up on the Switch too somehow. Like
The Ultimate Sonic Fantasy Collection.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
we got it.
Especially
Alright,
that
Joseph.
the Unleashed never came to the proper version never came to a Nintendo console.
Oh, you're right.
That's
'cause
true,
you're in
yeah.
the Wii edition, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sega loves to re-release stuff, so I wouldn't put it out as a possibility. I think it's very possible at some point they're like, "Oh, we never made money off that again. Let's do it."
Yeah, especially since now
Definitely, yeah.
you can like use a hacked 360. Well, not a hacked 360, but you can get the 360 data off the hard drive to do the recompilation on PC. So you'll be like, "Oh, right,
go.
people. Okay, so people actually do want that game, Warhog and all. Okay." Anyway,
Bring it on.
for
Yeah. What about you, Joseph? You're gonna play us out.
Okay, so what I want to see, I mean, ideally, like I said, not necessarily this would be the way I would ever actually play it, but I want to see what happens if, like, Microsoft and Bethesda put Starfield on the Switch 2 and try to put in all the modding support that the Xbox has. I just want to see that, like, dumpster fire that happens with Nintendo and Microsoft going at it like on the whole mod thing. Because Nintendo's not going to be happy to do that.
No, they're not like that.
But that's why this is fantasy, because the chances of Starfield actually coming to Switch 2, not that high. Like, we have rumors of a PS5 port, possibly, maybe, but unless if the Switch 2 is, like, actually significantly more stronger than the Steam Deck, I don't see it happening. But it would be interesting to see it happen with the modding stuff.
It's not impossible. Microsoft's insane. Like, this is not related to Switch, but the new Gears of War is not going to have a physical Xbox edition, but it will have a physical PS5 edition.
I did not know that. But, I mean...
Like, that's insane.
I know it's possible that Microsoft would do it. I just don't know if it would, like, A, actually work on the Switch 2 all that well to be actually a thing that you can sell, and B, if the modding support would ever actually... If Nintendo would ever actually let, like, the mod scene, like, that Xbox currently has on the Switch 2. I could easily see, like, a port of Starfield with no mods available whatsoever just coming to Switch 2. Like, because Microsoft would do it if they thought that they could actually sell enough. But I want to see, like, the dumpster fire that happens, like, if mods happen, or people will be like, why can't we do why can't we do any, like, texture replacement mods or, like, any file mods or anything type deal with...
So just so I'm clear, you don't actually want this as a product. You want to see the chaos and the windfall.
Yes. And ideally I want to see Starfield on more systems because it means more people can play Starfield. But, like...
Sure, but I
have the best way to play Starfield already, so...
I just like that you have this, like, Joker mentality approach to it. You're like, I just want to cause chaos. That's all I want. All right, well, that's fair. So, on that note, thank you, too, for both Abdullah and Joseph for joining me here, for your patience today, because, as you guys know, today was a little bit of a difficult recording process. Let's leave it at that. Mm-hmm. But I also want to give shout-outs to Spencer Puryear and Sinjeet, as well as Jeb Malcolm, Loke, Michael Kelly, Sega Steve, and Trey Wagner. Once again, Spencer Puryear, Sinjeet, Jeb Malcolm, Loke, Michael Kelly, Sega Steve, and Trey Wagner. Thank you to all of your support. Everybody who's out there listening, thank you. Please like, comment, subscribe as well. Consider supporting the Patreon. Consider following us on, like, Instagram and all that stuff. What do we got? Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Spreadshirt. There's my travel channels, all sorts of stuff. You can go over there, watch all sorts of content. I try to support everything, except for TikTok, because I'm too old for that, as we've established already. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.